Well, we're going to start off with this one, kind of showing how we start one saddling, and this one hasn't been saddled before, so we'll kind of go through what we normally do to get one ready. And I want them pretty calm when I go to put the saddle on them. I don't want them worried about the saddle, and kind of how I put the saddle on also has a little bit to do with that. The handier you are at getting a saddle on one, probably the less you have to do desensitizing one. If you're not kind of very handy, if you're kind of sloppy at getting the saddle on, then you want to get them really quiet, you know, getting them ready. So we'll kind of work with this one a little bit and just kind of show you what we do as far as getting them ready to saddle and then saddling up. And then when you get a saddle on one, you want to make sure that especially the first experience is pretty good. So you don't want the saddle to come off, slip underneath him, and him to go tearing it up. Is not very good for saddles or horses. When that happens, you tend to have a lot of repair bills after that. So we don't want the saddle to go underneath the horse, and it kind of teaches the horse that maybe if he bucks around a little bit that it'll come off. So we don't want him to think that or get that experience, especially the first few times. So we'll be kind of careful on how we do it, and I'll kind of go through some things that we normally do when we first get him saddled to make sure everything is going to be good. A lot of it's feel and practice, so if you're going to try this, you know, you kind of have somebody that's done it for a little while kind of help you out and try it on some horses that are maybe a little quieter first, and then as you get more experience, you can try it on some horses that maybe haven't been saddled before. So we'll just kind of start. So I want to be able to rub all over him a little bit and pet on him a little bit. You should be gentle that way. I want to be able to run my hand up underneath his belly here and make sure he's not too cinchy. That's not going to worry him. So this is a long yearling coming 2-year-old, pretty big, pretty good size for his age, so we're not too worried about him hurting himself. We're going to kind of get this rope here around his belly. And I want to kind of pick up on that rope a little bit and act like it was a cinch. Thing I'm working on here is, if he was to get worried, he's probably not going to buck that rope off there and learn a bad habit like he might if he just jumped around there with the saddle and the saddle slipped off. So I want to make sure that he's going to be okay. He's not going to worry him too much. That's going to be okay there. And if he moves around a little bit, I'll just kind of hang in there and just wait till he quits moving. Then when he's still, I'll let it go, and then I'll pick up again. As long as he stays still, then I'll let it go. Pretty good. So we'll take this flag and kind of move it around a little bit and kind of make sure he's not too worried about that. Then we'll go ahead and stick it up on his back. If he gets worried about it a little bit, then we'll just go ahead and move his hindquarters over. You'll see this one's kind of stepping to me here a little bit. He wants to bring his shoulder into me, like right there. I just let him run into my leg there. I say, you got plenty of real estate out there you could be moving into. You don't have to run on top of me. I'm probably not going to save you here. Right there. I just let him run into my leg there a little bit. Pretty soon you'll figure out I'm not going to move away. Don't step on my foot. Better. He just maybe wants a little security, and he kind of thinks maybe I'm going to hold him. If he needs to go around, he can move his hindquarters out to the outside there. Doesn't have to run me over. Pretty good. Now we'll try the other side. Kind of starting to figure out it's not going to hurt him. He doesn't need to be worried about it. He kind of calms down and starts accepting it like it's no big deal. The domesticated colts that kind of been used to people, they don't mind running you over, so you kind of got to worry about them maybe running over the top of you to get away from the flag a little bit more than maybe one of the wilder ones. This one's not trying to get away as much as he's trying to climb over the top of me. Not in here. Better. So I like the felt pads with a little hand hole in them. They're a little easier to grab onto. If you had to grab on like this and grip one with your hand will start cramping up if you have to do it too much. And sometimes it takes more than 2 or 3 times to swing one up there before they get kind of quiet about it. So if they have a little hand hole in there, it makes them easier to grab onto. The other thing is these are fairly stiff. So they have a little bit of body to them. And it makes your arm a little longer. So instead of just taking and trying to swing it onto them, you can stick your hand through the hand hole like this and pick it up, and it just makes your arm longer. So now I got a great big old mitten on the end of my hand. I can pet the horse with it. It makes it a little easier for him to make that adjustment to getting petted with it and getting used to it. I'll let him smell on the inside of that. He can kind of smell some other horses, and sometimes they'll want to nuzzle at it a little bit. I'll bring him over here away from the saddle. And I just go to petting him with it a little bit. Once that's pretty good, then I can go back down where I'm holding it in my hand like that, like I would normally saddle him. Now I want to get him so that he's pretty quiet with the saddle pad. You know, the saddle pad's fairly light compared to the saddle, and so if I can get him pretty good about the saddle pad, then the saddle's probably going to be a lot easier. Sometimes I'll even hold the saddle pad like I would my saddle. And then when I go to swing it on there, now you can do this from either side of the horse. Personally, we saddle from the right side. The reason we do that is almost everything we do is from the horse's left. We saddle a lot of times from the left, we halter, we bridle, we unbridle, we pet half of them on that side, we get on and get off from that side. So we don't do very much on the right side, so they're sometimes a little bit more worried about us on this side. They say, that's not right, you're normally not on there. So anything I can do from this side is going to help the horse be a little bit more equal in his perception of me on both sides of him. That's the first reason. Second reason is it's faster. It probably doesn't make much difference if you're only saddling a couple horses a day. You're only going to save a couple minutes. But we might saddle 15, 20 horses a day. So if you can save 2 minutes on every horse, that kind of helps a little bit. When I pick up a saddle, I kind of hold it like this, where it's underneath my arm. It's a little higher. If I was holding it like this, I'd have to raise it up another foot or so to get it where it's already at right here. So I'm holding it right here. It's already another 10 inches, maybe a foot taller. That means I don't have to lift it as high to get it over his back. Well, let me kind of sniff it a little bit there. And then when I come in here, I'll put it back there so we can smell the back side of it. Then I'll go to putting the saddle blanket on here like this. Then when I go to put it on there, I'm going to try to put it on there nice and even, nice and smooth. Don't want him to get scared of it. That's kind of how it should go on. I want to put it on there just kind of like I'm putting on my hat. Now I'm already on this side. I was telling you about how smooth and how it can be a little faster. So I'm already on this side, so I need to make sure that the cinch is going to fit. So if I need to adjust the cinch, I'm already on this side to adjust it. I need to let the cinches down, I'm already over here to do that. I'm not going to be like tiptoeing around the horse, but I'm not going to want to scare him either. So I'm just kind of going around there easy, just like I normally do. So when I go to pick the cinch up, I see a lot of people reach under here like this. Well, then it kind of presents the crown of your head to the back of his foot. If he were to kick there, get surprised, he might jump forward, and you can't see it coming. So when I go to put the cinch up, when I go to grab it, I'm going to be up here by his shoulder, and I'm going to reach down underneath here, and I'm going to have the back of my hand touching his belly. And then as I grab it like this, I can see his foot. So if he's going to go to kick at me, I can see it coming and get out of the way. We're going to get ready here. He's never had a saddle on, so sometimes the first time you cinch him up, he gets a little worried. So I want to make sure everything's good and snug before I let him go. I don't want it coming off. So I'm going to get the back cinch a little bit hooked up here. We always use a back cinch, and most of the times we use a breast collar too to make sure that we don't have to maybe tighten it up quite so much. The first time I want it to make contact with him. I want it to be fairly snug. There, he got a little worried there. I just let him walk around there. So that's about right. It could go up maybe one more hole. But I want it to be touching him. I don't want him to be loose, and then when he gets really big in his belly, hit to grab him and surprise him. I want it to already be touching him there. Just kind of move him around the round pen a little bit. Sometimes they buck, sometimes they don't. We'll just kind of let them take care of himself. And when we move him off, we don't want him to move off fast. We want him to move off kind of slow, kind of walk real slow there, and then if he moves off slowly. So we'll just kind of see how he does. We'll just move him around a little bit, let him kind of get used to that being on his back. We're going to let him go around there at his own pace, wherever he feels like he needs to go, and we just kind of encourage him to kind of go along there. Good there. We'll just do a little bit of groundwork here. I want him to kind of be able to move around to the left here, go forward, and be in a little bit of a left arc. I want him to move his hip over to the right. Then move his front over to the right, that way. Go on. There. You can tie them up if they move around a lot when you're trying to saddle them, and they just kind of, especially maybe if you're not really handy to getting them to stay still, you can tie them up. The reason I don't tie them up is sometimes if they get a little scared and they can't move their feet, that energy starts getting bottled up, and then when it finally does go, it's kind of sometimes a big explosion. So if you can have, like when I cinched him up there the first time, he just got a little scared because it grabbed him a little bit and squeezed him, and he said, "Hey man, that worries me." And so I let him walk a circle, and as soon as he got 3/4 of a circle walk there, he kind of calmed down and everything was pretty good, and then it was okay. So by letting him do that, I kind of let that pressure out of his, he's kind of building up a little pressure there, and I let that out. So there wasn't, kind of dissipated itself. Where if he wouldn't have been able to walk forward, he might have got a little worried there, and then he might have bucked or reared or something like that. So you kind of got to be careful if you tie him up, that when you go to saddle him, he's able to move around a little bit. Sometimes they feel like they need to move a little. So I don't mind them moving. I'm going to direct them where they go when they move. But You know, sometimes they just got to move because they get a little worried about something. So.